What's up, folks? Welcome to the Modern Truths Throwback Thursday. I'm MJ here with Alex Storm, and we're going to do what we always do on Throwback Thursdays. We're going to talk about an old school movie. So, Alex, what movie did we watch this week?
So this week we watched Mission Impossible, the original movie. We watched it because Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is coming out this week. It was directed by Brian De Palma, it starred Tom Cruise and Jon Voight, and it came out in 1996. And Brian De Palma also directed Carrie, which we did another Throwback Thursday video on. So Mission Impossible, I didn't remember this movie very well. I watched it when I was a kid. I watched it with my parents. I know that they liked it. And I guess I liked it. Watching it again as an adult, I found it a little bit confusing, but the action was really good. And by the end, I was invested. It just took a long time.
Yeah, I seem to remember this movie having a reputation for being a very convoluted and confusing film at the time. I certainly wasn't very into it. I distinctly remember not liking it even when I was younger when it came out. And rewatching it, I can say my sentiment is fairly close to where it was when I was younger. I still don't really like this movie. It's far from a terrible film, but it feels dated in some places. Like I feel like the direction of Brian De Palma was kind of weird. I mean, again, I guess he directed Carrie in the 70s, so this was, you know, he was older at this point, and it kind of felt, even for a movie from 1996, that it felt older than that. In its appearance. And go ahead.
Oh, I think it also felt older because there's so much technology in this movie. Like for the time it came out, it looked like this super advanced technology that all the characters are using. And I'm watching it now, they're using floppy disks and I don't know, like eye scanners and palm scanners and like things that we've seen in movies a whole bunch of times. I mean, floppy disks we haven't seen a bunch of times because those went out of style really fast. But the technology they're using now, even the phones they're using, I don't know, it's a little funny.
Yeah, I mean,
it makes it look old.
Well, that's not the reason I thought the movie looked old, but you know, fair enough. Certainly, it's worth checking out to just sort of see that, like in 1996, this was like advanced technology on display across the board, and everything you saw in the movie. To think that where we're at now and be like, wow, this could have been 100 years ago from what they're doing. Yeah, but I don't know. I want to talk about a few things. First of all, Tom Cruise. You know, Tom Cruise, obviously one of the biggest movie stars in the history of movies. The dude makes bank. But I've heard people say that Tom Cruise isn't the greatest actor. I never really thought of it that way, but in this movie, I felt like his performance was pretty shaky. Now, for what it's worth, I've seen every single Mission Impossible film up to this point, and I have enjoyed him in all of them except for this film. And so I don't really know what happened or what's going on, but I feel like the character of Ethan Hunt changed, like from this movie to the following sequels. Like, I mean, this movie kind of sort of started the concept of the like mid-series reboot. Because the second film might as well be called something else, like compared to the way it, you know, relates to this movie. So.
And not to mention, I mean, I don't think it was necessarily Tom Cruise's acting. It was across the board. These are brilliant spies working internationally, and they're kind of dumb.
Yeah.
They do a lot of dumb things. It's like the female characters were by far the most frustrating
Just
for me.
Useless.
Yeah, it was like, why are you here? You are not doing your job. You don't have a job to do. You don't have any function besides being good looking and trying to like convince men to do things for you. And that was really frustrating. But even our male characters, they're all like double crossing each other, stabbing each other in the back. None of them are doing it well. And they're making silly mistakes. Like when the guy, you know, the famous scene from Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise is dangling into the room to steal the software, and the guy drops his knife at the very end. Like, no, you would do better than that.
Yeah, well, he lets him slip, and there's just all kind of mishaps to create tension within the film, but it completely undermines the characters. Like the very first scene in the movie, when freaking Emilio Estevez is hanging out on top of an elevator that can go up and cut his freaking head open or whatever, just for like an hour until it finally happens. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and yes, again, to go back to the female characters, I mean, they are just all terrible in this movie. And not just the characters, but yeah, the acting is pretty bad too. And there's this weird soft lighting that, again, reminds me of an older film. It looks like a movie, like a black and white movie from the 50s or something. And every shot where it's just a woman in it, they're just all soft and shiny. And it's just like this weird, like, fetish.
Angelic.
Yeah, it's like, dude, man, like, it's just crazy to think that this movie is almost 20 years old. And in that amount of time, you know, people complain about cinema not coming that far. But I feel like at least stuff like this isn't happening anymore, where it's like, there's a blockbuster film where every woman in here's sole purpose is, as you said, to look good and maybe create some drama, some sort of sexual tension. It's like, yeah. That's lame.
Yeah, yeah. The only strong female character was Max.
Yeah.
She was the woman. She was the boss that he's sort of negotiating with after things fall through. And even her, like, at the end, like, she kind of gives up all this information, and then she's double-crossed herself and turned in, and then immediately turns to see how she can bribe the guy. And I don't know, I was disappointed. I was like, you're going to be this amazing boss who's been running some underground network for, I don't know, 20 years, and then all of a sudden you're going to take me on by Tom Cruise? Like, come on.
I don't know. I mean, again, this really falls into, it's like, this is going to be a complaint fest about Mission Impossible, but it just falls into, I always have this issue with police characters, with doctor characters, with spy characters, scientists, any supposedly intelligent characters. The problem, of course, is that the people writing the movie are screenwriters. Okay? No offense to screenwriters out there. Not saying anything about your level of intelligence, but if you're making a movie about spies that are really smart and really good at their job, it might help to show them actually be good at their job at some point before you get to having them screwing up and dying and everything like that. Because you pretty much go from the very first scene where you see them accomplish a mission to it jumps right into their next mission, which everything falls apart and the entire film is set around him trying to get it all together. So it's just kind of strange. Just kind of weird, man. Like, I don't know, like, just from a purely story standpoint, I don't really see why you want to tell that story as the first story of your new franchise.
Fair enough. Show your main character failing. But let's talk about the good things so that we're not only complaining. Tom Cruise is the thing that stuck out to me this movie when I watched it when I was a kid was Tom Cruise's crazy mask things where he's a completely different character. Totally got me again in this movie, especially at the very end on the train. I thought he was the bad guy when the girl and him talked and he pulled out his mask. I was like, oh, okay, you got me. Good job, Mission Impossible. The other good things, the exploding gum gets to be used twice in this movie. Twice. Not
once, but twice.
And the second one, that was during the most, like, absurd action sequence where the helicopter has made it into a train tunnel. Another train passes them. Tom Cruise is hanging on the side of the train. All so ridiculous. But it's okay. I think that's what these movies went even further on to become. And it was just, I don't know, it was silly, and he exploded the gum, he survived, it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, again, talk about the transition of the franchise. Like, this was the one that was still kind of sort of serious, very much so like an espionage film that happened to have these over-the-top action sequences where, as the later films are just like, they're action films that have a little espionage in the background, you know? Yeah, he'll pull that mask off at one point in the movie. And also, it's funny because I forgot about him like hanging on the side of the high-speed rail of this. And I was thinking about this stunt everyone's making a big deal about in the upcoming movie, where he's hanging on the side of an airplane, except apparently he was actually hanging on it while it was actually taking off or something. I don't know what that's all about. But I was like, it's the same stunt 20 years later. Kind of crazy. But
it's funny.
I would also say, if my memory serves correctly, this feels like the beginning of Tom Cruise as an action star. And I know you're saying, wait a minute, he was in Days of Thunder, he was in this, that. No. It wasn't even this movie so much. I just remember seeing him, the trailers for Mission Impossible 2, and I was like, what the hell is Tom Cruise doing? He's like punching people and like doing kung fu and like just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I feel like this was sort of the beginning of like Tom Cruise as an action star, because he was not considered that, like,
yeah,
you know,
he was a little more of a heartthrob.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like about the movie is the music. The Mission Impossible theme song is still just as good. Maybe the highlight of the entire movie.
Undoubtedly the highlight of the entire movie, in my opinion.
The other good thing, for a movie that came out in 1996, it had quite a bit of diversity in its cast.
Yeah, it did. Let's talk about it. Who other than Ving Rhames, where was the diversity in this cast?
I don't know anyone besides him.
Quite a bit, huh?
There was, I don't know any of their names, but there was the one guy, and then there was the other guy.
One guy and the other guy?
There was the other guy who he recruited.
Who was the one guy?
There was the one black guy.
The one black guy, I don't know who you're talking about. Ving Rhames is the bald guy who is the tech dude.
That's him. And then the other tech dude he recruited, who's he?
I don't know who you're talking about.
The two guys he recruited. He recruited two people. One of them betrayed him. Nick Rhames did not.
You talking about the Russian dude?
Yeah.
That's diversity?
No.
Okay.
Not.
All right. Well, now let's get out of the weeds on that one. So, yeah, they did have a brown face in the film, and they did have women in there. And the brown face actually came out looking all right in the end. The women, not so much. They did not quite acquit themselves accordingly. But, you know, whatever, man. I don't know. Is there anything else to say about Mission Impossible?
I think that's it.
Yeah, you know what? It's a 2 thumbs down for me. Not feeling it. You don't need to watch this movie to enjoy any of the sequels. So my advice is check out Mission Impossible 2. Check out Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Apparently it's it's a franchise where you have to skip the odd number of films. I don't know, maybe that's what it is. But 2 and Ghost Protocol are pretty awesome, especially Ghost Protocol. So check it out. Yeah, so that will conclude this episode of Throwback Thursday. I am MJ, and you can follow me on Twitter at TheOnlyMJ, and she is...
I'm Alex Storm. You can follow me at Alex Storm, TMT, as in The Modern Truth.
And themoderntruth.com is where you can find all of our Throwback Thursday videos, movie discussions, and all the news you need to know. Thanks again for tuning in, folks, and take care.